Welcome to the Frontier Tower podcast. The Frontier Tower is a 16-floor building in downtown San Francisco, a former WeWork transformed into an interdisciplinary incubator. Each of the 16 floors has a different Frontier focus, from robotics to longevity. There is a makerspace. There is a bio lab. There is even a floor dedicated to human flourishing. I'm Headphone James, and each episode I'll be talking with a different member of the Frontier Tower, getting to know a little of their history and learning what they're up to today. Let's just start.
I'm here for you.
You sure are. Welcome to the Frontier Tower podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Headphone James, Derrick Su.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We are over-equipped, underprepared,
As always.
ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah. So, Derrick,
Yes, James.
how did you find your way to the Frontier Tower?
I attended a pop-up city last year around this time. And as a result of being part of that pop-up city, Edge City in Chiang Mai, I somehow got on some kind of a list so I don't know, I can't remember exactly how I got the information, but I found out that this thing was happening here in San Francisco.
The pop-up city.
Yeah, the Viva City pop-up city that started in late June. And this was probably at the beginning, maybe February or so this year. I always wanted to come to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Where are you from?
Australia. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I've been a nomad for the last few years.
Okay.
So I always wanted to come here for the tech and just to experience it. And just the overall idea of coming here, having a whole community already around, and a pretty affordable price point. I thought this is a pretty amazing opportunity that I should definitely take up.
And that was in June?
Yeah, it happened in June to early August.
What do you remember, like, first day experiences in the building?
If I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say it was a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
A lot of disorganization, mayhem. At the same time, I kind of like that when you come into a space where things are not as organized as you're used to in a conventional sense, there's a lot of opportunity for people to take up that slack and to create your own space and to make it how you would like something to be. So I think, yeah, there's the pros and cons. So I kind of liked it. It was kind of like guerrilla style, you know, it felt like starting from scratch. And I just love that kind of energy when you're just at the beginning of something and you have a greater, I guess, agency to help shape it.
Mm-hmm. What were the holes that you started filling almost immediately?
That's a good question. Initially, I got involved by creating side events, such as, because I'm into fitness and everything, I started a running event. I did a 7-minute HIIT program. But then, as I got into the pop-up, I started getting very involved with the project I started. So,
What project is that?
because I'm on the longevity floor, I got inspired by some of the things I saw. And I created this thing called the Ultra Human, which is 5 physical tests you can do within about 7 minutes that gives you an idea of your functional age based on 5 clinically validated tests that people use to predict mortality.
How did you come up with this idea?
Well, one of the other guys that was part of the pop-up city, and I think this is one of the values of these kind of gatherings, is that you just get such an amazing mix of people and you get inspired by different people, and it's just a huge concentration. It's very unlikely you're not going to be inspired by something. JP was one of the guys that was part of Viva Pop-Up. I think he was involved with the marketing, but he also gave a talk at the first weekend, which was a longevity summit. And I only actually caught the couple of minutes. I was just walking through the conference center or the spaceship on level 2. I just kind of heard the tail end of him talking about these 5 tests that are used to predict mortality. So I thought it'd be a lot more interesting to kind of reverse it and try and come up with an algorithm of sorts using these 5 tests that have been able to predict, if you're going to live another 10, 20 years. I wanted to try and do it the other way and say, okay, how old would you be depending on how well you did these tests? The exciting part was obviously, firstly, understanding the data, because you have to understand how the data informs, and come up with an algorithm that would be relatively accurate. I mean, who's to say what's accurate? Because this is just, you're just making the stuff up, right? But you're trying to simulate it as much as possible. This was actually the first app that I had the best experience in terms of actually getting it to the finish line. Because previously, I think it was partly due to my inexperience, partly also due to the technology not being fully developed. So this is the first project that worked really well, and I guess as a kudos to Lovable that I was able to do that. Everything kind of just worked most of the time. And so that was a pretty good experience building it.
Do you have experience building software before like AI coding? No, because I only know you as an engineer. So
that's wow. That's a big thing coming from me. I mean, you're the engineer. I'm just a guy that has ideas that is trying to translate that into code using AI.
I will say I was very shocked when I was talking with someone like, let's go talk to Derrick. He's an MD. I had no idea you are an MD.
Yeah, yeah. If I was in America, they call it MD. In Australia, they don't use that title, but it's still a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really usually lead with that or anything.
No, you don't. It was a total surprise. So going backwards just a little bit, what were you doing before Edge City? There was some transition from training to be a doctor or doctor-like person in Australia to now. I'm kind of curious if you could fill in some of those gaps of like, what happened.
I'll give you a broad overview because it's been quite a journey. So I did medicine like any good Asian boy did or has done. I graduated, I did my internship, and I quickly tried to separate myself from it. I had some other aspirations at that time. I somehow stumbled into music management. So I always loved artistry and rock stars and music and entertainment, and that always was very appealing to me. I never felt I had the capability or ability to do that myself. So I thought, okay, the next best thing would be to manage an artist. And so I did that with zero experience.
Wow.
And I thought naively, right, not knowing anything, I thought, okay, this shouldn't be too hard. I just bought every book I could find about music management. And there's these thick books that are still somewhere at home, unread. But I bought all these books on music management. And I thought I could turn an artist into a major or a reasonably recognized artist within a year, which is absolutely ridiculous because now I know it takes 5 to 10 years to properly develop an artist. Although these days it does happen a lot quicker, right? But back when I was doing this, it was usually a much longer process. So I had this naive idea I could do that, and I pretty much invested all the money I made in my first year as a doctor into becoming a music manager.
Wow.
I went to every single major music conference, tried to hook up meetings with all the big music labels when they were kings. A very different story now, of course. But back then, they were like, people worshiped these record companies because they were really, had a very big presence. I tried to do this like world trip, trying to shop my artists around and try and get them deals and stuff like that.
Wow.
But yeah, that quickly ran out.
What did your family think of this when you're like, yeah, I just got my degree, I just started practicing, and now I'm going to take this very sharp left turn in life?
Yeah, well, obviously they're not impressed, but I think they've had to deal with my kind of off-center type of pursuits in the past.
Yeah.
So
it's Derrick.
Yeah, I think that it's come to that point now.
Yeah.
After many years.
Fabulous. Okay, so you tried that. Then what?
Okay. Then I was back in Brisbane. I survived because I could still do part-time medical work as an assistant. So I'd help proper doctors, consultants do like knee replacements, hip replacements, abdominal surgery, things like that. So I did that kind of part-time, but I was also moping around, not sure what I was going to do. And then I had this idea because I had been in personal development, like studying personal development for a very long time. Mostly trying to deal with my own stuff, trying to, fix myself and that kind of thing. So I was very involved with that industry. And then I thought, I think I should be a motivational speaker with no job, moping around, watching daytime television. So
Yes.
what I did was there used to be a little community. I think it's still actually there. It's called the Relaxation Center in Brisbane, and it's a great little community serving the kind of underprivileged or the people that wouldn't normally go to the full priced kind of programs. It's trying to serve a need there. And so I thought that would be a good starting point. I'd go there and I'd propose to them, hey, I'll do a program, give me a couple of dates. So I had a meeting with the guy. I think he liked whatever I said. He said, okay, sure, we'll put on 2 events for you. And so I had 2 events that were about a month away. I created 2 very distinct different programs. I didn't actually have anything already written. I just said, maybe I can do this and do that. So once he agreed, then I had to go and work and put it all together. So I did that. Got a pretty good turnout. Like on one Monday morning, had a motivational workshop, and I think I had about 25 people or something like that. And then I did another event on a Friday night that was like packed. It was 70, 80 people. And that packed the room that we had. And so that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But me being ADHD, which I didn't know at the time, immediately after doing that, I went, okay, great. That was fun. I'm going to do now a weekend program. So I did each program once. There were a few that I did more than once, but I was just basically always creating a new program, doing it, and then kind of like moving on to the next thing. So obviously, it's very hard to get any traction that way. It's like a music artist trying to release 10 singles at the same time. You can't expect any of them to do well. So I kind of did that for a while.
How long's a while?
Maybe about a year and a half. And then I got involved with another business that was doing something similar, but had a financial structure that allowed me to make good money from. Basically, I was promoting someone else's program that was priced at a pretty high price point. My first month, I made like about 30 grand. That's nearly how much I made in a year doing my first year of medicine, right? So
Right.
Anyway, I thought, okay, this is great. And they ended up moving to Sydney, so I moved with them. But then a lot of things happened within that company, and I left only after 6 months because there was a lot of culture issues, a lot of things that were a bit dodgy anyway. I got out of that. And then I got to Sydney, and that was kind of like the goal was to get to Sydney because I actually aspired, after going through all that, I kind of felt like, oh, maybe I could be a front person. I may not be, I don't think I'm musical because I've had that much experience creating music, but I could do like TV hosting or something like that. That was part of the reason why I wanted to go to Sydney because that's where entertainment is.
Yep.
That's where you can build a career. Basically, I was in Sydney for a number of years trying to break it in television. And that was pretty tough back then because now when I go back to Australia, every second person I see on TV is Asian. I'm exaggerating, but it feels that way sometimes.
Yeah.
I see Asians on billboards. I see them on, everywhere. It's just like very commonplace now. But back then, very rare. And there would be maybe 2 auditions a month. And you would go to these and you'd see the same Asians show up. I would maybe get 2 jobs a year out of that. It was very hard to try and break in at that time. And so after quite an extended period of time doing that, I got enraptured into the whole fantasy of Hollywood in terms of I got a waiter job. I didn't actually make it to a waiter because the first thing you do before you become a waiter is a runner. So I did 3 months of that and then I realized, that's probably not going to work. I remember a good friend of mine at the time, because he knew me that I was a doctor, and I remember him coming to the restaurant I was working at and just like going, Derrick, what the hell are you doing, man? You got a medical degree and you're here running around serving drinks. I kind of reached a low point where trying to break it in the entertainment industry, doing all these little jobs here and there. So at that point, I actually went back to medicine to do some part-time work. And it was actually some skin cancer work. So it was kind of something I was interested in because I love doing things with my hands. I like building things and crafting. And as part of the job, I had to quite often cut out suspicious lesions. And I think one of the things I find very interesting is just working out how to put that back together and make it aesthetic as possible. It's kind of like on the borderline of plastic surgery, trying to just fix things and make it look as nice as you can. So anyway, I did that for a bit of time to save up some money. The whole idea was I'd save up a bunch of money so I could go to Singapore, because Singapore, Asians were the majority. I'd have a runway of about 6 to 12 months where I wouldn't feel pressured to have to get work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you arrived in Singapore.
Yes.
What happened there?
I think this actually comes back to why this is so exciting here at the Frontier Tower, is because it's so new. Everything's just being put in place. It's still very unregulated in terms of people still trying to work out the guidelines, the rules. How do we do this? Singapore at that time, their entertainment industry was a lot less organized, or there was a lot less layers between you and a job. You know, in established places like LA and Australia, there are very strict or very key ways you have to get in. You have to have an agent, you have to know the casting director. There's all these layers that you need to get through. Whereas Singapore, there was a more direct link a lot of the time because the industry is so small. As a result, managed to get in to do a lot of work.
What kind of work?
Oh, just acting. I did a bunch of student films. So I did a lot of free work to start off with, just to get experience, to get to know people. So I did a lot of free works with student films. Then I did commercial work. One of the other things, because it is so unregulated, they don't often pay as well. There's not that advocacy to make sure the artists are reimbursed. So there's a lot of things where the jobs pay less, but at least you get the experience. So that's a kind of trade-off. So yeah, I was doing commercials, hosting, a bunch of stuff. Pretty much after about 6 months of doing that, I'd made enough connections where, because of my experience in Sydney, there was a very vibrant scene there in terms of there's a lot of communities, a lot of industry events trying to rally around all the artists that are trying to make a break. And I saw that was kind of missing in Singapore, that there wasn't an industry event. So I decided I'd put on an industry event.
Wow.
The idea was just to bring together all the producers, directors, models, actors, hosts into one spot and just have a social evening. I basically did this whole thing within a 2-week period. So from the idea of let's do a networking event to it actually happening and having 200 people at the event.
200 people.
Yeah, and I made it paid as well. Like half the people paid. And it was a pretty nice space. It was called the helipad. It was a circular roof space, and it had a helipad on top, so there's a rooftop as well. I got like 5 different artists to come and perform. I don't know how I did it for 2 weeks. I didn't have any sleep pretty much.
Wow. And then who was running operations at this?
I was doing everything.
So you were like on the mic, running operations.
Yeah. I still remember,
logistics.
I had to get friends involved, like helping me with designing the logo and stuff like that. But I managed to do all this just on the fly, and yeah. But then I got bored. as in, after doing that one event, you'd think the next logical thing would be to do another one. But I kind of, once I did that, I was like, okay, I've done it. I can do it. I'm kind of like, I need something else. I think that's been my biggest challenge, is just staying with something long enough that I could be like amazing at it. I kind of give up once I know I can do it well. You know what I mean? It's like the challenge, the payoff from going from good to great, to me, in my brain, is not enough, even though it would mean so much more money, which doesn't motivate me that much.
So you created a industry event, maybe the first of its kind in Singapore.
I'm sure there were ones before, but they kind of lapsed.
Okay.
So basically, I was just trying to break into getting onto TV. So that was my goal when I was in Singapore. And I was also lucky to get into hosting events in Singapore. Being an MC in Singapore is a pretty good gig to get. And that sustained me, which I'm very grateful for. And it was also great just being out there, just having fun talking. You can't complain. Of course, there's preparation, but it was a good lifestyle and freedom, because basically I could do probably 2 or 3 jobs a month and I'm good. And the rest of the time I can decide what I want to do, whether it's going to an audition or taking some classes or stuff like that. I had a friend in Sydney who everyone loves to hear about because he was one of the Green Power Rangers. I see everyone light up whenever I mention. Oh, really? Oh, who's that?
Green one.
That's for you, Jason. I met him. Oh, there's a little story here. Back in, this will give you an idea of my age or the time frame, but I was actually a body double in the Matrix 2 and 3. That was an amazing, amazing experience. Right. And what that means is I got to body double for the main cast. There was a couple of main casts. I think I was a body double for the Keymaker. He was the older guy in the movie, and another guy, Colin, I think. He was the Asian martial arts guy. I think he was in white.
Okay.
So I got a body double for them. And what that meant was I was on the set with all the main cast, with Keanu and everyone else, Lawrence and all those guys. I remember like the very first day, all the main cast were there around the little table inside the set. And we were all there, and they were just saying, you know, before you start filming something, they have their little words of thanks or you know, all that kind of stuff. So I remember being there. I remember shaking Keanu's hand. We didn't have cameras there, so I don't have proof, but it happened. But basically what I did was I just had to be on the set, right, before the actual actor came on the set. Because before you shoot, they have to get the lighting, angles, they need someone there so they can get all that correct.
Yep.
And that usually takes a couple hours. So you don't want the actor standing around doing that. You want them to be fresh once they get on. So I used to be that person that just stood on the set, get directed around so they can do all the shots. So it was an amazing experience because I got to see how films were being made firsthand. And that was pretty much where I learned a lot of what I know about filmmaking, just being on that set and just watching what was happening. It was pretty amazing. So Jason, this is something that I would never recommend anyone do, and it was so unprofessional of me. But NIDA, National Institute of Dramatic Arts, like Juilliard in New York, kind of, for dancing. But this is for acting. And they had an open night, which is when all the actors have kind of come to the end of their 3-year training, and they get to showcase their work in front of all the agents. And for some reason, I decided I really wanted to be there and I needed to be there. But I had already committed to be a body double on The Matrix. And I had to call the agent. I think this is very unprofessional because, you know, when you commit to something in show business, you should never, ever break a contract like that because it's just a death. Because basically, obviously, they're never going to call me again after I did that. Which they didn't, and they shouldn't have. Right. But at the same time, I was also getting bored because so it was, to me, it wasn't such a big loss. It was more feeling I failed on not following through on a commitment, and that was the bit that was the hardest for me. At this acting thing, I met Jason. He went to Singapore to pursue his career because he was told, "You're not going to make it here in Australia, or it's going to be very difficult. You should go to China. You should go to." And he went there and he's done really well. He's still in Singapore right now. But here's how this works. He got asked to do a TV show. He didn't want to do it. So he said, "Oh, maybe you could do this." So he handed me the 2 jobs that he didn't really want to do that I ended up doing. So I got this job doing a TV show, an 8-part series on complementary medicine. All right. So I wanted to be a music VJ. I wanted to be on MTV. It kind of mixed what I didn't want to do with what I want to do in terms of, medicine and hosting. So I did that job. And then he also gave me another job, which was really awesome. It was Discovery Taiwan, where I got to do 2 full-length documentaries in Taiwan. And that was pretty amazing.
And when you say you got to do them, you were the talent?
I was a host, I got to host them. Even though I couldn't speak Mandarin, so if you ever watched it, my Mandarin's not very good. Straight after that, I got a gig on radio. Harry, who's I think in Toronto now, he's still in radio. He said, "Do you want to come to this voice acting workshop for directors?" I don't know why he asked me actually, because there are like established radio DJs there, but maybe because everyone's already been in there, he thought this would be a good break-in for me. And it was great because I got to be in a room with all the directors in Singapore. And that's amazing because now pretty much most of the people in Singapore know me, and if they like my voice, they'll get me to do work. So pretty much from that point, I got a lot of like radio ads and things like that. Yeah.
Amazing. So you did that in Singapore for a while?
Yeah, it didn't last long because I got bored. It was a really tumultuous time because the radio station was actually going through a full management reshuffle. So besides trying to master a new craft, there was also all this other additional workload. I need to exercise. I think when you have ADHD, certain things are non-negotiables, or certain things are super important to help you stay regulated. I didn't know this at the time, but I think exercise is definitely one of the things that helps keep me centered and grounded. And so when I was in this chaotic environment, lots of excitement, all that, which is great, love that. But because it was so busy, I couldn't continue my regular exercise program, and that kind of made me unhappy. Initially, it was because of the workload and all the craziness. I couldn't get my regular routines happening. But then I think later on, I just realized I don't think I really want to talk about what Justin Bieber did last night and what Britney Spears or whatever was happening around that time. It's probably a combination of just, I've done this now. I don't really see I could do this for the next 2, 3, 4 years. Mm-hmm. I also at that time had the desire to do the software thing. I thought, I've got this idea for software. I got to do it now. So that was my reasoning. But that didn't happen, actually.
Okay, so what happened next?
So I quit. I went to America because I thought, okay, I want to do software. Yeah, I went to America, and part of the reason was I do a dance called West Coast Swing, which is, I don't know whether you know, is the national dance of California, right here. I was doing that dance. I still love that dance. I wish I want to come back to it some stage. But at that point, I was doing it, and there are dancing conventions around the world all the time.
Okay.
And I was going with the Singapore crew to New York first, and then that was gonna like the impetus to come over to SF and explore the ecosystem and then try and learn about doing startups.
Yeah, then what happened?
What happened was I was getting my foot into it, and then just before I started radio, I got introduced to parkour. I was actually going to do my first marathon, the Singapore Standard Chartered Marathon. I'd done a bunch of half marathons, so I was training up for the marathon, but because of this new job, I couldn't run. So I hadn't run for like 3 or 4 weeks, and there was about 10 days left before the marathon. I thought, damn, I need to get some running in. And stupidly, I don't know why, but it's like 2 a.m. in the morning, I decide to run. So I go running at 2 a.m. in the morning. I could run half marathons quite easily on any regular day. Mm-hmm. So that's nothing. That's fine. But then I decide to run another 12, which is the most I've ever run in my life in one shot, after not running for 3 weeks. So next day I wake up and I had severe pain in my knee, my left knee. As a result of that, I couldn't run anymore. So the next thing would be to go to the gym, even though I hated going to the gym, because I thought, going to the gym, I'm just working a muscle. I'm not actually learning a skill. This is boring. I don't want to do that. That was my attitude to strength training. But I met a friend of mine from acting days. I just bumped into him in my neighborhood. Didn't know he was living around. I said, hey, let's train in the gym. So we went gym training, but at that time he was doing parkour. So after a gym session, he would ask me, hey, do you want to go and try parkour? I said, look, I don't really want to do that stuff. That stuff looks dangerous. I don't want to do it. But then because my friend kind of offered it on the spot, it was right there. I thought, oh, what the hell? Let's try this. Let's give it a shot. So I had a training session with him, and then I went, wow, I love this. This is amazing. So pretty much after that, I stopped going to the gym, and I just started doing this parkour stuff. After my trip from America, I wanted to get back into the parkour. I wanted to train at like 6, 7 a.m. in the morning. And obviously when you don't have a strict schedule, you can start work anytime. I'd find myself sometimes getting up, but probably more times not. So I thought the best thing to do would be ask some friends. And I said, hey, I just put a post on Facebook. Anyone want to train parkour with me? I'm going to train every day. I'm going to train 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Let me know if you want to join. Ended up with 6 people that wanted to come. And so we started training. And so that means I had to show up at 7. They didn't always show up, but I had to show up just in case they did show up. Yep. So that kind of forced me into it. And then from that initial interest, I got a lot of people inquiring. So I thought, oh, maybe this could become a business, because it was kind of growing. So then a couple of months down the track, I started looking at could I make this into a business. And so I got kind of sidetracked down this road from my tech idea to doing this parkour stuff, which is, it's a passion project. Parkour at that point, and even now, is still it's still super new. It's still not very mainstream yet. While I did get a lot of interest in it, it was really hard to make it work because there's so much education as required, because the what's your first impression of say, hey, you want to come do parkour?
Yeah, like, fuck no.
Exactly. So you'd have to deal with all that. And so my main thing through that whole period was really education, trying to explain why it's not so dangerous, explaining why it's actually the least dangerous thing you could do because you're training your body to be using as one unit to understand how to land properly so that when you land in unexpected circumstances, you're going to land in a way that's not going to be harmful to your body. Yeah. And by doing parkour, you become more balanced. You can control your body better. You have better control. Your body, you're going to have body armor. So even if you do fall, your body's going to be in much better shape to stay together. So all these reasons why parkour is actually the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're at the edge in any sport, if you're on the edge, always pushing the limit, you're going to get injured. Mm-hmm. But if you're the majority of people who just want to enjoy something and you play within your known limits, then it is, I think, one of the best things that anyone can do to maintain their physicality and to be safe.
Okay. So
that's my spiel.
Yes. You created a parkour business.
Yes, I started a parkour academy. And it was challenging because I was stepping into a community of mostly teenagers, right? I am nearly 40, entering a community of teenagers. So naturally, there was a lot of resistance to me coming into that space. I had media connections, so I was able to get the media involved. I got on morning television, like Good Morning America, equivalent of that in Singapore.
Now all your skills that you've been building up come into play. Like you're comfortable in front of a camera, you know how to talk on a mic, you know how to build an event.
Exactly, yeah, right. All that stuff all worked together there. So I got a lot of media exposure. I was in TV, news, radio, all the kind of media bits. Then I set up another event. I set up the first Asian parkour festival. Mm-hmm. That was in 2013. Got funding, got help from the government.
Wow.
And this was probably put together in a couple of months as well. So very quick, but put this big, large-scale event at a shop outside a shopping mall. In that community, everything is free. And then as soon as you start to commercialize it, there was a lot of pushback. You're trying to make money off it. You're trying to do this. I was getting sponsors. People from high up in the parkour community were taking me down online. People that were respected. So I got a lot of flack. And then a few years later, they're doing the same thing. You know what I mean? This is the way it goes. It was exciting, but it was also some of the most stressful, and I went through some pretty dark periods as a result of things that happened that took me like 2-3 years to recover from. What I was trying to say was managed to like put on this great festival and bring all these people together for the parkour festival. Then we also did like the first challenge. We had a competition, and this was another big contentious issue within the parkour community at the time. Parkour is not competitive, it's anti-competitive. And then what happens years later? The leader of parkour, David Bell, was working with the federation to make it a Olympic sport, and everyone else is doing competitions now. Everyone's doing it now. Red Bull, all this stuff.
So you're just early.
It was exciting for me to be able to like do these things and pioneer certain areas and do new things that hadn't been done before in the space. Mm-hmm. And then we also launched the movie for Brick Mansions, which was a remake of the original parkour film that a lot of people know, which is District 13. So they did a remake of that movie, and I got to put on a big event to launch that movie at the cinema, kind of outside. So after doing these 3 events, and this all happened within the space of 18 months, from starting with just doing parkour with friends to doing all these events.
Okay.
Which is pretty crazy when you think about it. All right, so I was dead at the end of that. That was like April 2013. And after 18 months, I probably hit that wall when I went, okay, I think I've done everything I wanted to do in this space. I'm not really excited anymore. But I also felt an obligation to the people that were teaching, like the coaches, and the students that were learning. So I felt like I needed, and also, of course, you've created something, it's kind of hard to let go. So all these kind of things kept me there to keep it going, to try and build it to a point where I could step away and not be involved with the day-to-day. That ended up taking a long time. It took like maybe 8 years. Finally, I've been able to pass on someone who is taking control and is driving it. Yeah. Most of the stuff after that initial 18 months, the only new thing that I did was really getting into schools, which has happened a couple of years later. But most of the other stuff was just trying to just operationalize and find the right people and trying to work out how can I build this so it can sustain itself.
All right. What's next on your journey after parkour?
So around 2018, I got kicked out of my place in Singapore. Not because I did something bad or anything, but just because they were refurbishing the whole building. So I thought this is maybe a good time to just go traveling and nomading. I started nomading, just traveling around. This was like when I got to really travel and experience, just hanging out and being in space, seeing more of the world properly. Yeah.
And how did that lead to pop-up cities?
COVID happened, right? The things that happened during the parkour time, I also did a reality show which really confronted me with some of my behaviors and way I act and stuff like that, which then led to me kind of investigating, do I have ADHD? Obviously, reality TV is all designed to create drama, right? So they try and match you with people where drama is going to happen. And they did a very good job of it. I don't really remember too much. I just remember I felt really bad. I wanted to make it right. It's something where you just want to black out and wish never happened kind of a thing. So, but I think it was important it was important for me because I think that was when it kind of pushed me to go and, see a psychiatrist or whatever, just have a chat and say, hey, what do you think? Kind of thing. I had 2 that said, yeah, maybe you do have that. Let's try you on some medication to see if that makes a difference. And we had 1 that said, no, you don't have that. You'll just have personality issues or something like that. You should go and see a psychologist.
Okay.
When I heard about COVID, I said, oh, what's this? No. I was still traveling. Like I went to Bali for a acro yoga convention, and that was February. And then I went back to Singapore in March. Towards the end of March, there was this big
lockdown.
Thing. Yeah. My dad called and he said, I think you should come back to Australia. I went back to Australia just before they locked everything down. And then I spent 2.5 years back at my parents'.
Yeah, fucking sad times, COVID.
It's funny. But it was good. I got to eat really healthy, spend time with my family. And it also got me back into training regularly. So got back into running, listened to podcasts, listened to a lot of podcasts around that time. So I started training, learned about Knees Over Toes Guy program, which was really good. It's probably one of the best programs I've done because I've done a lot of gym training stuff and I really like it because it's mobility, it's functional strength, it's flexibility. I think it's a very healthy program. So anyway, I started training again, and then I came across an idea about building some gym equipment. Because one of the things that the Knees Over Toes Guy, he has this exercise called the tibialis raise, but there's not very many pieces of equipment for this particular exercise, which is basically exercising the front of your shins. I thought, maybe I could make one of these because that'd be a good way to enter the marketplace with a product that not many people are making right now. I thought I could make a better design, make it cheaper because it was quite expensive. So just an example of a project I was doing. That took about 2 years. And by the time I had finished a prototype, which I went to Chiang Mai and was at a makerspace and soldered and did all the stuff, learning how to do 3D and working with metal and all this kind of stuff. I did the whole prototype thing. By that time, it was too late. The market, I saw the market change. I saw all these other players come in. I saw all the Chinese knockoffs being made at the 10th of the price.
Got it.
Then I saw the high-end established players getting in the game at the higher end. So I thought, okay, the market is saturated now. When you go on Amazon, there's 10 pages of people selling the same thing.
Got it.
So I thought, okay, I missed the boat. I needed to move faster if I was going to, But anyway.
But you got a lot of skills in the same time. Like, how do you build a thing and how to use a makerspace?
Yeah, I mean, it was super fun. I mean, I think the most fun times I've had, and the other thing was so I got into bodybuilding as well. And this thing was actually probably, I would say, I would consider it one of my kind of things, the proudest thing I've done in terms of dealing with my ADHD, because doing something for 6 months, the same stuff for 6 months, that's a big call. I think that to me is like, okay, I can do this. And now I just got to apply this to some business stuff and for a longer period of time with at least a 2 to 5 year window. But yeah.
What new like techniques or skills or frameworks were you using that allow you to stick with it? Or is it just motivational to see it through?
I think it was just being aware that, okay, this is a thing that's holding me back. And let's see if I can try and do something for an extended period of time, more than 1-2 months out, and stick with it. And also, I always wanted a six pack. I never got there. So this is also an extra motivation. From the outside, I totally understand. It looks so posy. It looks ridiculous. It's so vain, all this kind of stuff. I totally get that. And that's how I kind of felt. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, I thought, okay, maybe I should give this a shot. Something I should probably mention also. My grandfather he was a bodybuilder. I think he was actually a pioneer in bodybuilding he set up the first gym in Hong Kong. And he used to do the bodybuilding competitions in the Asia Pacific region. It required a lot of focus because you're not just weightlifting. There's 3 aspects of bodybuilding. You're trying to build as much mass as possible, and then the definition. Getting ripped, and then the posing. Okay. Because posing is actually very difficult, and that actually I found tremendous joy and challenge. Because you watch these bodybuilders, you watch Arnold, you watch him move. He was so graceful, and he connected the movement so well. And I spent hours just watching my own footage, trying to get my poses right. It takes a lot of time and dedication to do that.
And at the end of 6 months, where were you?
Well, I competed. I got on stage. These days, you're usually on stage with maybe maximum of 10 people that you're competing with. I think I did get 4th place for over 30s, which I thought was okay. I also got second. I think I got second for over 40s. I would like to win one, so I'm thinking I've got one more competition in me.
Wow. Amazing. Well, how did this lead to pop-up cities? Because that's where this thing
That's right, pop-up cities. So, I've been to Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai is one of my favorite places, and I just love hanging out there. I mean, of course, one of the major reasons is because it's so cheap to live. I think the second reason is the community is really great there. You're going to meet really a lot of real people there. It's very open. You can have conversations like this, It's like a lot of you headphone Jameses every day. Good conversations, interesting people. So I really love that place. And one of the things that's springing up these days are a lot of these co-living spaces. And I see this happening here, of course. You got these hacking houses and all that kind of stuff, which is really cool. So back in Chiang Mai 5 years ago, this is what I was experiencing, all these little places where you can co-live with 20 or 30 people. Mm-hmm. Kind of feels like you're in your 20s and you're flatting with 5 people, except there's 30 people. So there's more chances you're going to find at least a group of, a small group of people that you're on the same wavelength with. So, yeah. So I actually joined one of these in Chiang Mai called Alt Chiang Mai. Very cool. It's one of the really nice co-living space. They've done a tremendous job. They're probably one of the leading communities out there on what they're doing. And I joined one of them and got to experience 1 month of living with 30 other people. And it was great. It's a great way to, especially if you're moving to a new place, to get your initial people as a starting point. Basically, I thought, okay, this is going to be kind of like what I experienced at Old Chiang Mai, but you're going to have 500 people or 1,000 people, super interesting people from all around the world for 30 days. That's how I got to Edge City. It was in Chiang Mai. I was just open just to learn about everything. Okay. There wasn't anything specific. I mean, one of the great things that came out, that was I met Jack, and I just stumbled in on, there's all these little side events that happen. This is how events happen these days, right? You have the main conference and you have all the side events, and it seems like everything happens at the side events these days. Mm-hmm. So I just stumbled in on his side event, and he was doing this thing with Replit, building an app. Mm-hmm. That was interesting. So that kind of got me started on doing that. And then actually towards the end of that month, they had a hackathon, and I used that information and built something for exercise. And actually, I managed to win my first hackathon. My first hackathon I won. It was fun. I mean, Building is just so fun. I did the first one, and then I thought there was another bodybuilding competition 1 month out. I thought I might as well do that since I'm already in condition. But then in the middle of training for that one, I hurt myself. I was doing a squat with too much weight. It did something in my back, and I couldn't move. Like I was on my ground for like 3 or 4 hours in the gym before someone noticed me. Anyway, by the time I got home, I was basically bedbound. I couldn't move. It was super painful. I was in this stuck position for like 24 hours where I couldn't move, and I thought, shit, what have I done to myself? And during that period, I don't know, for some reason I was scrolling, and I got into this whole thing about van life. I never knew about van life until this moment. And then from that moment, I started getting full on into van life. And I started researching, checking all the ads, buying, and I eventually bought a van. Right, I bought this 4x4 Sprinter van. Okay. Really old. It's like 25 years old. So I bought this van, and then this is what I was just getting to. One of the happiest experiences I've had was just spending 3 months just redoing the whole van. Like just spending my days working out how to fix things and take it apart and put it back together, and yeah.
Where was this that you got the van?
This was in Australia.
And then one thing led to another, and then you do the Viva City here.
Yes.
So let's talk about some of your early experiences that you had in the Frontier Tower during Viva City.
I think that the greatest value is just the people that you meet here. I've just had a chance to just make some really great connections with people, whether or not they're anything to do with business or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I think it's just a great quality of people. It's such a great space that you can, if you want to reach out and speak to somebody, there's always someone that you could probably find on one of the floors. There's always something interesting happening. I also got very locked in on what I was doing because I just started working on an idea that I started in Boston a couple of months back.
Can you speak of the things that you're building here?
I built things that I got it inspired from being here, which was the one I mentioned about Ultra Human thing. That was inspired from being here. And then I started building another app because I love taking photos. I love taking photos of people. I was also thinking it'd be nice to capture those stories of people in a meaningful way. So I was thinking about how that would be possible because I've been to other pop-ups, and I thought it'd be really great if after every pop-up you got to have like having a yearbook or Facebook, whatever that you have in school here. It's kind of like having one of those. I thought it'd be great to have that kind of a collection for people to just remember the time, and also possibly to connect with people they didn't have a chance to, they could through such a platform. So that's how this other project called Numina has come about. Do you know what Numen means?
I do not.
It means something like about your true essence or spirit or something like that. So your divinity. So that's how I came up with the name. So the idea is, just trying to show the very best of a person through pictures, words, video, whatever, and being able to share that within a community to celebrate that community and the people in it. I've been working on that one. That's taken a lot longer than I expected. I thought it was just going to be like 2-3 days, but 2-3 months now, and it's only nearly finished now.
I think it's a beautiful project. A hard question for you would be, what is the essence of Derrick?
I like seeing other people's true essence. I like experiencing other people's true essence, and I like trying to play a part in helping bring that out. And whether it's through photography, video, or a workshop, I think maybe that's what I am.
You are helping people discover their own essence, to be around it, to celebrate it, to explore that, to help them grow.
Yeah,
I mean, and quite literally, physically grow in many of your endeavors.
Right.
But sometimes it's self-reflection.
Yeah.
Having used your app, it forces you to take a look at yourself and be like, oh, what am I about? So I appreciate that. It's a useful and beautiful exercise. And I like that you are building things to help create connection in the world.
Thank you. I mean, that's actually my main project, is actually to find a better way of connecting and building relationships. That's my main project that I'm working on. So once I finish this Numina one, that's the one I'm going to be focusing on.
Where's the wind going to blow next for you?
I think this is the place to be, having experienced San Francisco right now. It feels like I've never been here in its heyday, but the energy feels amazing. There's just so much great energy here. Meeting so many interesting people doing amazing things. It's just great to be around so much positive, inspiring, aspiring energy of people just want to build things. So I'd like to come back here. So my plan is right now to start developing this main app and start applying for programs, whether they're hacker houses, incubation programs, accelerator programs, and try and find my way back here to build something.
Let's just look at the journey that you walked me through from becoming an MD, which is like such a lift I can't even imagine, to lifting weights, to parkour, to acting, to running workshops, to health. It is like you are a very multi-dimensional human, and your spirit is of warm connection. So it's a beautiful soup of wanderer, healer, tinkerer. And that's a lot of the ethos of what we want San Francisco to be like. People who are multidimensioned, who have depth and experience, who are excited and excitable, are inspired and inspiring.
Thank you, James.
So I think you encapsulate the best of a citizen of the Frontier Tower.
I tried. Thank you, James. Wow.
Oh, good fun, Derrick.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Great getting to know you better.